The crystalline chamber stretched beyond human comprehension, a vast dome that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Towers of light rose from the floor, each one holding a representative from a different alien species. There were thousands of them, arranged in concentric circles that spiraled upward into darkness. At the center of it all, suspended in empty space, stood 3 humans. Ambassador Marcus Webb kept his breathing steady as he looked around the Galactic Council's judgment chamber. To his left stood Lieutenant James Cole, a military officer whose augmented body remained perfectly still despite the overwhelming presence surrounding them. To his right, Dr. Elena Rostova adjusted her glasses. A nervous habit from before humanity had eliminated the need for such devices. She kept them as a reminder of simpler times. The air shimmered, and a voice boomed across the chamber, translated instantly into every known language, through quantum fields that wrapped around each being present. The Council recognizes the unauthorized presence of specimens, claiming to be human. The speaker was Vol Yum, the High Arbiter, a being of living gas that shifted colors from purple to deep crimson as it spoke. Its form occupied a tower at the highest point of the chamber, looking down upon the 3 humans like a god pronouncing judgment. Marcus stepped forward. His black uniform bore no insignia, no rank, no decoration. Just smooth fabric that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "We are human," Marcus said simply, "and we're here to present formal charges against the Krell Dominion for genocide." A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Clicks, whistles, electronic pulses, and sounds that human ears could not process without technological assistance. The translation fields worked overtime, converting thousands of simultaneous conversations into comprehensible noise. One tower flared bright red. From it emerged a massive reptilian creature, easily 4 meters tall, covered in scales that looked like black metal. Ambassador Drakvon of the Krell Dominion stepped onto a platform that floated toward the center circle. "Impossible." Drakvon's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Humans were eliminated 60,000 cycles ago. They violated territorial expansion protocols. The matter was resolved according to Council law. Marcus smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "There were no violations," he said quietly, but his voice carried across the entire chamber through technology the Council could not detect. Earth never expanded beyond its home system. We had 4 billion people living on one planet when your armada arrived. You glassed our world in 6 hours. 4 billion dead. The genocide was recorded. Vol-Yum's form shifted to a darker purple. The historical records show that humanity was classified as a potential threat. The Krell action was preemptive defense, sanctioned by this council. Then this council sanctioned murder, Elena spoke up, her voice sharp. "And we're here to collect the debt." The chamber erupted in chaos. Thousands of voices overlapped, creating a cacophony that would have driven unprotected humans insane. But Marcus and his team stood calmly, waiting. They had prepared for this moment for 60,000 years. Vol-Yum's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Silence. The chamber went quiet instantly. "You claim to seek justice," the High Arbiter continued. "Yet you appear before this council with no evidence, no witnesses, no legal standing. Your civilization no longer exists. You have no worlds, no territory, no population registry. You are ghosts demanding recognition from the living." Marcus nodded slowly. "You're right about one thing. We're ghosts." He gestured with one hand, and the space above the central circle shimmered. A holographic display erupted into existence, filling the air with images that made even the most hardened council members recoil. 17 planets appeared in the projection, rotating slowly. Each one showed the same thing: empty cities, abandoned streets, silent installations. billions of structures intact, but not a single living being visible. These are 17 Krell colony worlds, Marcus explained. They were occupied as of 30 standard days ago. Population: combined total of 43 billion Krell citizens. Drakvon roared. What have you done? We took them, Marcus said simply. Every citizen, every soldier, every child. All in stasis, aboard our vessels. Alive, but sleeping, waiting. The chamber went deathly silent. Even the ambient sounds of thousands of breathing organisms seemed to stop. You hold 43 billion hostages? Volnum's form flickered with what might have been shock. We prefer to think of them as guests, Elena interjected. Uncomfortable guests, perhaps, but alive. Which is more than the Krell offered our people. Marcus changed the holographic display with another gesture. Now it showed a star map, vast and complex. Hundreds of systems lit up in red across multiple sectors. These systems once belonged to humanity, Marcus explained. Before the Krell genocide, we had started establishing colonies. 97 worlds in various stages of development. After Earth fell, other species moved in. The Council recognized their claims. Our people were forgotten. He paused, letting the information sink in. We want them back. All of them. You have 1 standard year to evacuate human territory. Anyone who remains after that deadline will be removed. We're offering more mercy than we received. Vol-Yuan's form turned almost black. This is extortion. This is terrorism. The Council does not negotiate with. Then don't negotiate, Marcus interrupted. We're not asking for permission. We're informing you of our intentions. Consider this a formal declaration of war. Not against the Krell, against everyone who profited from our extinction. James Cole finally spoke, his voice cold and mechanical. You built a civilization on our graves. You took our worlds, erased our history, and called it legal. That ends now. Drakvan's scales rattled with rage. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. The Krell military alone numbers billions of soldiers, millions of ships. You have nothing. Marcus's smile returned, wider this time. We have exactly what we need. We survived 60,000 years in hiding. We adapted. We evolved. We became something new. He looked directly at Vol-Yum. You eliminated humanity because we were too intelligent, too adaptable, too dangerous. You were right to be afraid. The holographic display changed again. This time it showed a single structure in deep space, massive beyond comprehension. A sphere that enclosed an entire star, covered in billions of installations and docking ports. Ships moved around it like insects around a hive. We didn't just survive, Elena said softly. We thrived. This is one installation. We have 17 others scattered across dark matter regions your sensors cannot detect. Each one houses billions of humans. We've been building while you thought us extinct. Waiting. Planning. Vol-Yuan's voice trembled with something that might have been fear. How many of you are there? Marcus looked up at the High Arbiter. Enough. More than enough. He turned slowly, addressing the entire Council. You have 1 year to evacuate human territory. Use it wisely. Any species that withdraws peacefully will be offered trade agreements and technology sharing. Any species that resists will face the same fate as the Krell colonies. We are not here to destroy. We are here to reclaim what was stolen. The chamber remained frozen in shock as Marcus and his team stood calmly in the center of the ancient hall. Somewhere in the darkness above, recording devices captured every moment, every word. This conversation would spread across the galaxy within hours. The ghosts of humanity had returned, and they had brought war with them. The Exodus Dawn had been little more than a colony transport when Earth died. Built to carry 50,000 people, to a distant world called New Promise. It had been 3 light years away when the Krell armada arrived at Earth. The ship's crew had watched helplessly through long-range telescopes as their home planet burned. Captain Anya Volkov stood on the bridge, her hands gripping the command console until her knuckles turned white. Behind her, the other refugees wept, screamed, and prayed to gods that had not answered. 4 billion people reduced to ash in 6 hours. The mathematics of genocide played out in real time across their displays. "Captain," the navigation officer said, his voice hollow, "we're receiving multiple distress calls from the outer colonies. The Krell are moving on them next." Anya closed her eyes. 23 human colonies scattered across nearby systems. Small outposts with populations ranging from a few thousand to a few million. None of them had military capabilities. The Krell would exterminate them all. "Send warnings to every colony," Anya ordered. "Tell them to run. Then take us into the deep dark. Maximum speed, random vector. We don't stop until there's nothing on our sensors." "Captain, we should appeal to the Galactic Council," someone suggested. "They have laws against genocide." They authorized it." Anya cut him off. Her voice was flat, dead inside. "I just received the classified transmission. The Council classified us as a potential threat. They gave the Krell permission to eliminate our species." The bridge went silent. "So we run," Anya continued. "We run until we find somewhere they can't follow. And then we decide what happens next." The Exodus Dawn vanished into the empty spaces between stars, its fusion drive pushing it toward velocities that human ships were never meant to achieve. Behind them, the last human colonies winked out of existence one by one as Krell warships completed their mission. It took 7 months of running before they found the anomaly. A region of space where sensors detected nothing, where light itself seemed to vanish into mathematical impossibilities. The ship's science team called it a dark matter nebula, though that explanation barely scratched the surface of what it truly was. Inside that impossible cloud, they found the MEGASTRUCTUR, Dr. Thomas Rostova, Elena's grandfather many times removed, led the first exploration team into the ancient construct. It stretched across light years, a network of interconnected stations and platforms built by a civilization that had died millions of years before humanity learned to make fire. The technology was incomprehensible at first, but humans had always been good at learning, at adapting, at taking tools they didn't understand and making them work. Within a decade, they had power. Within a century, they had rebuilt their population using genetic banks preserved from Earth. Within a millennium, they had decoded the fundamental principles behind the megastructure's construction dot, and then they did something the original builders had never imagined. They weaponized it. Commander Peter Webb, Marcus's ancestor, stood in what would eventually become the command center of humanity's first Dyson sphere. Around him, holographic displays showed the progress of construction projects that would take centuries to complete. But humanity had time. In the relativistic bubbles created by their stolen technology, they could experience thousands of years while mere decades passed in normal space. "The Krell think we're extinct," Peter said to the assembled council of survivors. "The galaxy has forgotten us. We can use that. Use it how?" Someone asked. Peter smiled, and it was a smile that would be inherited by his descendants over the next 60,000 years. "We become what they feared we would be. We adapt. We evolve. We become so far beyond them that when we finally reveal ourselves, they'll have no choice but to listen." The project began in earnest. Genetic modification at the cellular level, integrating technology that previous humans would have called magic. Neural augmentation that allowed instant communication across any distance. biological changes that let humans survive in any environment, from the crushing depths of ocean worlds to the vacuum of space itself. But most importantly, they learned patience. Generations passed in the relativistic bubbles. Children were born, grew old, and died having never seen a sunrise on a planet. Yet each generation carried the memory of Earth. Images of blue skies and green forests were projected on the walls of their artificial habitats. The story of the genocide was taught to every child before they learned to read. Remember, prepare, return. Admiral Kira Volkov, Anya's descendant and Marcus's contemporary, reviewed the tactical reports in her ready room aboard the dreadnought Remembrance. Outside her window, the construction yards of Sanctuary Station stretched into infinity. Ships emerged from automated factories at the rate of one every 6 minutes. Each vessel incorporated technology that made Krell warships look like primitive canoes. "We're ready," her tactical officer reported. All 17 sphere stations are fully operational. Fleet strength is at optimal capacity. Intelligence networks have been embedded in 70% of major galactic civilizations. We can begin operations whenever you give the order. Kira looked at the tactical display, watching simulations play out. Every scenario ended the same way. Humanity won. Not through overwhelming force, though they had that. Not through superior numbers, though they had those too. They won because they understood something the galaxy had forgotten. Information was the ultimate weapon. "What's the status of the Krell monitoring?" Kira asked. "Complete infiltration of their military networks 3 years ago. We have access to every communication, every tactical database, every sensor reading. They don't know we exist." Kira nodded slowly. "And the Council?" "Ambassador Webb is ready to make contact. Dr. Rostova has prepared the evidence packages. Lieutenant Cole's infiltration team has seeded our quantum communication networks throughout Council space. When we reveal ourselves, every species in the galaxy will receive our message simultaneously." "Then it's time," Kira said. 60,000 years in hiding. Thousands of generations preparing for this moment. Let's show them what humanity became." She pressed the activation key. Across the 17 sphere stations, quantum entangled communications activated. Probes that had been drifting undetected through Krell space for decades began their work. In 17 different systems, human ships emerged from folded space, peering seemingly from nowhere. The Krell colony worlds never knew what hit them. One moment, billions of citizens went about their daily lives. The next, they were asleep, their consciousness suspended in stasis fields that human technology had perfected over millennia. Not a single shot fired, not a single casualty. Just pure, overwhelming technological superiority applied with surgical precision. Within hours, the galaxy knew that humanity had returned, and then Marcus Webb made his appearance before the Galactic Council, standing in the very chamber where Earth's death sentence had been pronounced 60,000 years earlier. The recording devices captured everything. The shock on alien faces, the rage of the Krell, the fear in Volume's shifting form, but most of all, it captured Marcus's smile. That same smile Peter Webb had worn when humanity first decided to transform itself into something the galaxy could not ignore. The ghosts had come home, and they had brought receipts for every crime committed against them. The Krell Armada assembled in battle formation outside the Galactic Council's orbital station with a precision born of 10,000 years of military dominance. 300 warships, each one capable of glassing a planet in hours. Their commander, Fleet Admiral Grackner, broadcast his intentions on all frequencies so that every species in the galaxy would witness the response to humanity's audacity. "The Krell Dominion does not negotiate with terrorists," Grackner announced. "The humans have declared war. We accept." Let them die as their ancestors did. Inside the council station, Marcus Webb stood calmly in the judgment chamber, watching the tactical displays with apparent disinterest. Around him, representatives from thousands of species scrambled to evacuate, their panic creating chaos in the normally orderly halls of galactic government. Valium's form flickered with agitation. You must leave immediately. The Krell will destroy this station to eliminate you. Billions will die. Marcus shook his head. No one needs to evacuate. The Krell can't hurt anyone here. Their weapons are targeting this facility right now. Yes, they are, Marcus agreed. He glanced at his wrist, where a small device projected a countdown timer. They'll fire in approximately 40 seconds. Watch what happens. Drakvon, who had refused to evacuate despite his species' imminent attack, stared at Marcus with barely contained fury. You condemn everyone in this station to death to make some pointless gesture? Not pointless, Elena said calmly. She sat in a chair that had materialized from nowhere, her legs crossed casually. Educational. The galaxy needs to understand what we are now. Words aren't enough. The countdown reached 0.300 Krell warships fired simultaneously. Energy weapons that could vaporize mountains, kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds, and quantum torpedoes that could crack a moon in half. Enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. All of it converged on the council station. The weapons passed through the station as if it wasn't their energy beams. Solid projectiles and reality-warping torpedoes continued past their target and detonated harmlessly in empty space behind the station. Not a single impact registered. The council station remained perfectly intact, its shields not even activated. Volume's form went completely transparent with shock. How? Marcus held up his hand, and it flickered slightly, like a hologram losing cohesion. We're not here. Not physically. These are quantum-entangled projections. Our consciousness is transmitted across folded space from secure locations. You can't kill ghosts, Arbiter. We learned that lesson well. James Cole stood up from where he'd been leaning against a wall. The real Ambassador Webb is aboard the Dreadnought Remembrance, as are all human command personnel. We stopped risking our physical bodies in enemy territory about 40,000 years ago. Across the chamber, holographic displays showed the Krell Armada's confusion. Their sensors detected nothing wrong with their weapons. The targeting systems confirmed hits. Yet the station remained undamaged. Marcus changed the display with a gesture. Now it showed a different view. Space around the Krell Armada shimmered, and human ships appeared. They didn't travel from elsewhere. They simply materialized, folding space around themselves until they existed where they wanted to be. 17 human dreadnoughts surrounded the Krell fleet. Each one was smaller than the massive Krell warships, sleek and dark against the stars. They looked almost fragile compared to the hulking metal fortresses of the Dominion. Fleet, Admiral Grackner's voice came through the public channels. All ships, engage the human vessels. Show them the price of defying the Dominion. The Krell fleet opened fire. The human ships didn't move. They didn't activate shields. They didn't return fire. The weapons simply stopped working. Targeting computers shut down. Energy weapons discharged into their own. Power cores, forcing automatic safeties to engage. Kinetic systems locked up. Quantum torpedoes detonated inside their own launch tubes. Though the explosions were contained by fail-safe in 17 minutes, the entire Krell Armada became completely inert. Elena stood up, adjusting her glasses. We didn't advance through military conquest. We advanced through information mastery. Every system, every computer, every artificial intelligence in your fleet is based on principles we mastered 50,000 years ago. Your technology is an open book to us. A new voice entered the communications network. It came from the Remembrance, and it belonged to the real Marcus Webb. Krell Fleet, this is Ambassador Webb. Your crews are unharmed, but your ships are now under our control. We're placing all personnel into stasis. They'll remain sleeping, but alive until this conflict is resolved. Your government will receive instructions for their safe return. Grakner's enraged voice cut through. You cannot defeat the Dominion. We have billions of soldiers, millions of ships across hundreds of worlds. Actually, Admiral Kira Volkov's voice joined the channel. You had millions of ships. As of 6 minutes ago, you have significantly fewer. The displays changed again. They showed star maps of Krell military installations across their empire. Shipyards, training facilities, weapons depots, and military headquarters. As the Council watched in horror, icons representing these installations turned from red to blue. All major Krell military facilities are now under human control, Kira explained. We infiltrated your computer networks decades ago. We've been waiting, watching, learning your systems inside and out. This wasn't an invasion. It was a repossession. Dr. Elena Rostova, the real one aboard a human science vessel, appeared in the projection beside Marcus. We're not monsters. Every Krell soldier and citizen affected by our operations is alive and in stasis. When your government agrees to peace terms and evacuates the territories you stole from us, they'll be returned unharmed. We don't wage war to destroy. We wage war to remember. And we want you to remember this. The projections in the council chamber showed the interior of human ships. Row after row of stasis pods, each one containing a sleeping Krell citizen. 43 billion of them from the colony worlds. Another 6 billion from the military installations just captured. All alive. All preserved. All held as proof that humanity had surpassed the need for genocidal solutions. Volumes. Form had gone completely colorless. How many ships do you have? Admiral Volkov appeared in the projection, standing on the bridge of the Remembrance. Behind her, displays showed fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Enough. We've been building for 60,000 years in hidden facilities that your sensors can't detect. We exist in the dark matter clouds, in the spaces between spaces, in dimensions adjacent to yours. We're everywhere and nowhere. Lieutenant James Cole, his physical body in the council chamber, stepped forward. I should mention something about human evolution. Over 60,000 years, we didn't just advance technologically. We modified ourselves. This body you're looking at isn't entirely biological anymore. Approximately 60% of my cells are synthetic constructs, integrated at the molecular level. My brain processes information faster than your most advanced computers. I can survive in vacuum, underwater, or inside a star's corona. And I'm not special. Every human born in the last 40,000 years has similar modifications. He paused, letting that sink in. We're not the same species that died on Earth. We're what comes after. And we learned one very important lesson from our extinction. Never, ever give your enemies the chance to kill you. So we became unkillable. Marcus's projection smiled at the assembled council. You have 1 year to evacuate human territory. The clock is already running. Any species that complies peacefully will find us generous in victory. Any species that resists will face exactly what the Krell just experienced. We won't kill you, but we will make you irrelevant. The council chamber remained silent. Outside, the captured Krell fleet drifted in space, its crews sleeping, its weapons disabled, its pride shattered. Humanity had demonstrated its power. Now the galaxy would have to decide how to respond. The Vorian Collective maintained a reputation for neutrality that spanned 15,000 years. Their philosophy was simple: observe, record, and never interfere. When younger species made war, the Vorians watched and learned. When empires rose and fell, the Vorians documented everything. Ambassador Talish Prime represented his species in the emergency. Council session, 3 days after the Krell Armada's humiliation. Unlike most species present, he appeared calm. His crystalline form refracted light into rainbow patterns as he addressed Vol directly. The Vorians request private negotiations with humanity, Talish said. We wish to discuss historical records we possess regarding Earth's destruction. The announcement caused immediate chaos. Dozens of species began shouting questions, demanding to know what information the Vorians held. Vol called for order, but the damage was done. The careful narrative about Earth's legal elimination had begun to crack. Marcus Webb's projection appeared in the chamber, though his physical body remained safely aboard the Remembrance. The Vorians are welcome to negotiate. We accept their request for private talks. Neutral space, no weapons, no monitoring. Just conversation? 24 hours later, Marcus sat across from Talish Prime in a chamber that existed between dimensions, accessible only through folded space technology. The room was small, simple, containing only a table and 2 chairs. Elena sat beside Marcus, her tablet displaying various data streams. James Cole stood behind them, his enhanced senses monitoring everything. Talish's crystalline structure pulsed with soft light as he spoke. The Vorians observed Earth's destruction. We were present in your solar system, cloaked and recording. We saw everything. Elena leaned forward. Then you know it was genocide without justification. We know more than that, Talish replied. He projected a holographic document into the air between them. Ancient council records, classified at the highest levels. The council made a determination 62,000 years ago. They created a secret protocol called the Threshold Initiative. Any species that demonstrated excessive adaptability, rapid technological advancement, or unusual creative problem-solving was to be monitored. If they crossed certain invisible lines, they were to be eliminated. Marcus felt cold fury settle in his chest. They created a system to genocide anyone who got too smart. Essentially, yes. The founding species of the Council believed that allowing too many intelligent civilizations to develop would destabilize galactic order. Better to maintain a hierarchy where the oldest species remained in control. Talish's light dimmed. Earth crossed the threshold when humanity developed fusion power in less than 10,000 years of recorded civilization. The Council projected that within another 5,000 years, humans would rival the founding species technologically. So they ordered your extinction. Elena's hands trembled on her tablet. How many other species? 47 that we know of. Earth was not the first. You were simply the most thoroughly documented, because we happened to be in your system studying stellar phenomena when the Krell arrived. James Cole spoke for the first time. Why tell us this? Talish's form brightened again. Because the Vorians have watched the galaxy stagnate for millennia under this system. Progress has slowed to nothing. Innovation dies in favor of maintaining order. Your return changes everything. You survived what should have been total extinction. You became more powerful than your destroyers. You proved that the Council's fear was justified and their solution was monstrous. Marcus studied the alien carefully. What do you want? Alliance. Partnership. The Vorians will publicly acknowledge that Earth's destruction was genocide. We'll provide all our records to prove the Threshold Initiative exists. We'll support your territorial reclamation. In exchange, you share your technology and include us in whatever new order you're building. That's a dangerous position for a neutral species. Elena observed. Neutrality becomes complicity when evil is permitted to continue unchecked. We observed 47 genocides and said nothing. That shame belongs to my people. We wish to correct it. Marcus glanced at Elena, who nodded slightly. They'd discussed this possibility during the planning stages. An ally among the council species would be invaluable. Agreed, Marcus said. The Vorians will have access to our technology and a founding position in the new Federation. In exchange, you expose the Threshold Initiative and testify to what you witnessed. They sealed the agreement with quantum-encoded contracts that could not be forged or denied. Within hours, Talish Prime stood before the Galactic Council and released 62,000 years of classified observations. The galaxy exploded into chaos. Species that had disappeared mysteriously over millennia were suddenly explained. Civilizations that had vanished overnight, blamed on natural disasters or internal conflicts, were revealed as victims of systematic extermination. The Council's noble facade crumbled in real time across 1 billion news feeds. But while the diplomatic crisis unfolded, the Krell made their desperate move. Fleet Admiral Grekner, stripped of his fleet but not his determination, activated Protocol Omega from a hidden command center deep within Krell Prime. It was a weapon system so terrible that even the Krell themselves had hesitated to use it. Automated dreadnoughts built during an ancient war, each one capable of sterilizing a planet, had been mothballed for 30,000 years in secret locations throughout Krell space. Grekner activated all of them simultaneously. 3,000 ancient dreadnoughts powered up and began moving toward their preprogrammed targets. Every human colony world, every suspected human facility, and Earth itself. Aboard the Remembrance, alarms screamed as sensors detected the massive fleet activation. Admiral Kira Volkov stood on her bridge, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction rather than concern. They activated Protocol Omega, her tactical officer reported. 3,000 automated dreadnoughts converging on our territories. Excellent, Kira replied. How long did it take us to infiltrate their command systems? 4 years, Admiral. All dreadnoughts are under our control. They're running Krell software on the surface level, but we own the underlying code. Kira smiled. Then let's give the Krell a demonstration they'll never forget. Take control of their fleet. Have them turn around and park themselves in orbit around Krell Prime. Formation pattern remembrance. They'll understand what it means. Across Krell space, 3,000 ancient dreadnoughts suddenly stopped advancing. Their course changed, and they began moving toward the Krell homeworld instead. Within 6 hours, they arrived and took up positions in orbit, forming a pattern in space that spelled out a message in the ancient Krell language. We remember. On Krell Prime, billions of citizens looked up at the sky and saw their own ultimate weapons turned against them. Not firing, not attacking, but simply hovering as proof that humanity controlled even their most desperate contingencies. In the council chamber, Drakvon collapsed to his knees, his scales turning gray with shock. How? Those systems were isolated, air-gapped, impossible to penetrate remotely. James Cole's projection appeared beside the fallen Krell ambassador. You assumed digital infiltration. We used quantum entanglement instead. We planted microscopic devices inside your computer cores 40 years ago during routine maintenance cycles. Your own technicians brought our tools inside your most secure facilities. You never had a chance. Volume received a private communication on a secure channel. The message came from Marcus Webb, and it contained evidence that made the High Arbiter's gaseous form nearly dissipate with horror. Your species was one of the 12 founders of the Threshold Initiative, the message read. You personally provided the Krell with Earth's coordinates and classified humans as non-sentient to justify the genocide. We have recordings of the secret meetings. We have the orders bearing your genetic signature. You have 48 hours to confess publicly, or we release the evidence and begin military operations against Vorian space. The High Arbiter understood immediately. Humanity hadn't just infiltrated Krell systems. They'd infiltrated everything. Every species, every government, every secure facility. The ghosts had been watching for decades, recording every crime, every conspiracy, every secret dot. There was nowhere to hide anymore. Volume's confession came 36 hours later. The High Arbiter appeared before the entire Galactic Council, its gaseous form flickering with colors that indicated profound shame in its species' cultural language. Behind it, holographic displays showed documents that could not be forged, genetic signatures, encrypted communications, and meeting records from 62,000 years ago. "I confess," Volume said, its voice barely audible. "I was among the 12 founders of the Threshold Initiative. We believed we were protecting galactic stability. We were wrong." The chamber erupted. Representatives from thousands of species demanded explanations, shouted accusations, and called for Volume's immediate removal. But Marcus Webb's projection appeared in the center of the chaos, and his presence brought silence. "The High Arbiter is not alone in this guilt," Marcus said quietly. 11 other founding species participated in creating the Threshold Initiative. Their identities are now public. The displays changed, showing names and evidence. Species that had guided the Council for millennia, presenting themselves as benevolent shepherds of younger civilizations. All of them complicit in systematic genocide spanning tens of thousands of years. 47 species were eliminated under this protocol, Marcus continued. 47 civilizations destroyed because they were too creative, too adaptable, too intelligent. Billions of lives erased because growth threatened established order. Elena's projection appeared beside him. But Earth was different. One ship escaped. 50,000 humans survived and spent 60,000 years, transforming themselves into something that could never be eliminated again. We didn't return for revenge. We returned to ensure this never happens to anyone else. The council chamber remained frozen as the weight of revealed history settled over it. Species that had trusted the founding members now understood they had lived under a system designed to kill them if they became too successful. The entire foundation of galactic government had been built on hidden genocide. Then Krell made their final, desperate move. Deep beneath Krell Prime's surface, automated systems detected the crisis and activated their ultimate failsafe. Network nodes hidden across the galaxy powered up simultaneously, each one targeting a star system with significant populations. The weapon was ancient, terrible, and beautifully simple: gravitational manipulation that would trigger premature supernova events. 97 star systems, home to trillions of beings across dozens of species. All of them would die if the weapon activated. It was the ultimate deterrent, meant to ensure the Krell could never be completely defeated. Admiral Volkov received the alert on the Remembrance's bridge. Her officers looked at her with concern, waiting for orders. She smiled. "Display our countermeasures," she ordered. The holographic displays showed the Krell weapon network. Each node pulsed with red light, counting down to activation. But as the council watched in horror through intercepted feeds, something impossible happened. The countdown stopped. Each node flickered, and its status changed from red to blue. "We detected the weapon network 18 years ago," Kira explained calmly. "We've been monitoring it ever since. When the activation sequence began 3 minutes ago, our infiltration protocols took control. The weapons are now disabled permanently. We've also downloaded all the technical specifications and are currently sharing them with every species in the galaxy. No one will ever be threatened by this weapon again." Lieutenant James Cole appeared in dozens of locations simultaneously, his quantum-entangled consciousness allowing him to manifest projections across the galaxy. In each location, he addressed terrified populations. "The crisis is over. The weapon is disabled. You are safe. Humanity protects all species equally, even those we have no alliance with. This is our promise. Never again will genocide be an acceptable solution. Never again will growth be punished with extinction. In the council chamber, representatives from younger species began to weep with relief. They had been seconds from death, and humanity had saved them. Not for political gain, not for territorial advantage, but simply because it was right. Marcus looked at Vol. At Drakvon, at the representatives of the 12 founding species. The Galactic Council is dissolved as of this moment. Its crimes are too numerous, its corruption too deep. In its place, we proposed a federation of free worlds. No founding species. No hierarchies. Every civilization gets an equal vote. Complete transparency in all government operations. An absolute prohibition on genocide in any form. Dr. Elena Rostova projected technical specifications into the chamber. Humanity will share technology freely with all member species. Methods to detect and disable planet-killing weapons. Quantum communication systems for instant coordination. Medical advances that will extend lifespans across dozens of species. We're not hoarding our knowledge. We're distributing it so that everyone rises together. Talish Prime spoke up from the Vorian delegation. The Vorians support this proposal. We formally request membership in the Federation and offer our accumulated knowledge to its database. One by one, species across the chamber began to voice their support. The younger civilizations, grateful for their salvation, joined immediately. Several mid-tier powers, recognizing that humanity's technological superiority was absolute, chose alliance over resistance. Even some of the older species, seeing the writing on the wall, began to discuss terms. Only the 12 founding species and the Krell remained silent. Admiral Volkov's image appeared in the chamber. For those considering resistance, understand this. We don't want to rule you. We don't want to conquer you. We want you to join a system where genocide is impossible. But if you refuse, if you continue the old ways, we will contain you. Your military forces are already compromised. Your weapons systems are already infiltrated. Your choice is simple. Join the Federation as equals, or become isolated relics clinging to a past that the galaxy has outgrown. Drakvon stood slowly, his scales having regained some color. When he spoke, his voice carried defeat, but also something like respect. The Krell Dominion formally surrenders. We will evacuate the 97 worlds claimed by humanity. We will release all prisoners and return all stolen resources. We request membership in the Federation and ask for mercy and judgment of our crimes. Marcus nodded. Mercy will be extended. Your people will be returned from stasis unharmed. The automated dreadnought fleet will be dismantled by joint human-Krell teams, turning weapons into construction materials. Your military will be restructured as a defensive force only, and you will participate in creating a memorial to Earth on your homeworld, so that future generations remember what happens when genocide is chosen over coexistence. Over the following weeks, the old council structure collapsed entirely. The 12 founding species either joined the Federation under equal terms or withdrew from galactic politics altogether. Several chose isolation, retreating to their home systems to contemplate their crimes. Earth's restoration began immediately. Human terraforming technology, developed over millennia, went to work healing the scars left by Krell weapons 60,000 years earlier. The oceans were replenished. The atmosphere was cleansed. Forests grew in accelerated cycles, guided by genetic templates preserved from before the genocide. Marcus Webb stood on Earth's surface for the first time, his physical body finally leaving the safety of the remembrance. The sky was blue again. Clouds drifted overhead. In the distance, mountains rose against the horizon. It looked almost exactly like the historical images preserved in humanity's memory banks. Elena joined him, her real body small and seemingly fragile, compared to James Cole's augmented frame. But all three of them were crying as they breathed Earth's air. 60,000 years, Alina whispered. We're home. Behind them, construction crews began building the Federation headquarters. It would be a massive structure designed to house representatives from over 8,000 member species. The galaxy's new government would be born on Earth in the shadow of a memorial listing 4 billion names. The dead would be remembered. Their sacrifice would mean something. Admiral Akira Volkov arrived via shuttle, stepping out onto Earth's soil for the first time in her life. She was 200 years old, having spent most of her existence in relativistic bubbles, preparing for this moment. She looked at the sky and smiled. We did it, she said simply. Not finished yet, James replied. He gestured to the holographic displays his augmented vision could access. 17 species have experienced attempted coups by pro-council factions in the past week. The Krell have splinter groups refusing to surrender. And there are rumors of hidden weapons caches in unexplored regions. Marcus smiled. It was the same smile his ancestors had worn for 60,000 years. Good. Every problem is an opportunity. For someone. Elena laughed, understanding immediately. And humanity is very good at recognizing opportunities. The first Federation assembly convened 3 months later in the completed headquarters, building on Earth. Representatives from thousands of species gathered, some meeting each other for the first time. Old enemies sat beside each other. Species that had never encountered one another found common ground. Marcus gave the opening address, standing at a podium that once would have been occupied by Volume. But there was no High Arbiter anymore. No supreme authority. Just voices, equal and free. We stand on Earth not as conquerors, but as survivors, Marcus said. Every species here has faced extinction-level threats. Every civilization has known fear, loss, and struggle. The old council ruled through hierarchy and hidden violence. The Federation will govern through transparency and shared strength. We rise together, or we fall separately. There is no third option. The vote to ratify the Federation Charter was unanimous. Even the species that had initially resisted now saw the wisdom in joining rather than opposing. Humanity's technological superiority was absolute, but more importantly, their moral position was unassailable. They had survived genocide and responded with mercy. They had the power to destroy, but chose to build instead. As the assembly celebrated, Admiral Volkov stood on a balcony overlooking the crowds. James Cole joined her, his enhanced senses monitoring security automatically. Do you think it will last? James asked. Kira considered the question carefully. No, nothing lasts forever. Eventually, some species will challenge the system. Others will find ways to exploit it. Corruption will creep in despite our safeguards. Then why build it? Because even if it only lasts 10,000 years, that's 10,000 years of peace. That's 10,000 years where young species can grow without fear of being eliminated for being too successful. That's 10,000 years of progress instead of stagnation. She smiled. And when it does fall, we'll be here to help build whatever comes next. James nodded. 60,000 years of preparation. Multiple lifetimes spent becoming strong enough to guarantee this moment. Was it worth it? Kira looked out at Earth's restored beauty, at the representatives from thousands of species working together, at the memorial listing 4 billion names. Every single second, in the shadows beyond the galaxy's mapped regions, human scouts continued their work. They explored dark matter clouds, charted unexplored dimensions, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Humanity had learned its lesson well. Never stop growing, never stop adapting, never stop preparing for threats that haven't revealed themselves yet. The galaxy had tried to eliminate them for being too intelligent, too creative, too dangerous. They had been right to fear, but they had been wrong about what that danger would mean. Humanity didn't conquer. They didn't dominate. They built systems that made such things unnecessary. On Earth, in the Memorial Garden, a new inscription was added below the list of 4 billion names. It was written in every known language, translated for every species in the Federation. We remember. We forgive. We persist. And we ensure that no other species ever suffers what we suffered. This is our promise. This is our purpose. This is why we returned. The galaxy had declared war on humanity. Humanity had responded by forcing peace on everyone. It was the ultimate act of defiance, the final proof that survival and morality could coexist, that power and compassion were not opposites but partners. 60,000 years after aliens destroyed Earth, humanity had returned, not for revenge, not for conquest, but to ensure that genocide would never again be an acceptable solution to any problem. And as Admiral Volkov had noted, even after the crisis ended, challenges would continue. But every mistake is an opportunity for someone, and humanity was very, very good at recognizing opportunities.